Well, go ahead and call me crazy because I decided to watch season 2 of Fallout after not liking the first season and getting punished with a poorly received video and comments all about it. But I'm not watching Starfleet Academy or Dunkin' Egg and need something that might actually hit the algorithm. So here I am now, many days late with a video after binging all the season in a couple days to share some thoughts that will probably get me punished again.
I wonder if it's loaded. No. Ah, here we go.
But fuck it. Fallout Season 2 is a bit better than the first season, but it's still a shit show carried by Walton Goggins. And it just uses some game nostalgia and humor to hide the fact that absolutely everything and everyone is retarded and no actions make any sense. The main difference this season has from the first one is that it seems like no one is really talking about it. So to start this off, like I said in the first season video, but I feel like I should restate again, I have played a couple hours of some Fallout games, but I have not done like a deep dive into the lore or story or really remember much about the stories at all. Specifically with Fallout New Vegas, I have tried playing it start to finish over and over again, but have never really been able to complete it. I just really don't do well with completing games in general, especially open world games. So, with that said, my thoughts on this show don't really come from a hey, you broke the game lore kind of perspective. I judge the show by what the show presents. I do have, though, some minimal input from the games in terms of, like, hey, the effectiveness of a stem pack or what buff out was really supposed to be able to do. So now let's move on. By the size of the script, this will be one of the longest videos I've made in a while. But you know what? If I really wanted to make it that long, I would do a breakdown of everything that I thought was good or stupid in every episode. But I don't have that kind of time, and people didn't really seem to care about the show while it was actively airing. Granted, I probably should have done a weekly single episode review instead of a whole season because, I mean, there's just a lot to go over every episode. But just like all the characters in the show, I'm pretty slow and retarded. So here we are, picking and choosing some examples on some points and kind of just going over characters. And heads up, I will be spoiling plenty throughout the entirety of the video. I'm not really sure where the best place is to start, but we must start somewhere. So let's just go ahead and go with some characters and their individual stories and just go on to plenty of tangents, of course.
Get on with it!
So, something I'm sure you'll pick up throughout the video, and the main kind of point for the season and the characters is that the characters go through essentially the same development as they did in season one and are pretty much reset back to default at the beginning of season two. Maximus is with the Brotherhood of Steel, but instead of being a squire that is a bumbling idiot that just kind of plot armors his way through life while believing in the cause, he's instead like the head knight that is just a bumbling idiot that goes through life believing in the cause. He then has a crisis of faith in the cause and kills another knight, only to flee the order and end up with Lucy. Now, am I describing season one or season two? Yes. But only this time, with the end of season two, he doesn't end up back with the Brotherhood of Steel, palling around with whatever the fuck this thing is.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
The sheer amount of shit that Maximus survives is insane, and the fact that so many people in the universe of the show love him is also insane. Like, how does the Commonwealth guy know who the fuck he is and trust him implicitly at the beginning immediately upon showing up to the plane? Because he killed a guy? Oh god, thinking about that Eternals acting fuckhead now reminds me of the scene with him shouting, "Woohoo!" while slowly moving in the practical power armor suit and missing with the hammer to try to kill one single robot. God, look at that. Looks awful. It's cringe as fuck. I mean, I appreciate the practical suits and just how heavy they were to be in and do all their stuff, but the fact that you're hardly able to move at all just makes all the movements and fighting when doing fist stuff super awkward and just takes any intimidation out of the whole thing. But let's go back to Maximus. He should have been killed so many times by the leaders of the Brotherhood of Steel for not doing what he was supposed to be doing. He should have been killed in season 1 for all that. He definitely should have been killed in season 2 for that. And I love how he's still just such a sackless dumbass when he's with the Brotherhood, bumbling around going, you know, no, only to be like this ready to kill ruthless survivor of the wasteland when he's with Lucy going, well, welcome to the wasteland. That's what it's like here for you. He really is just not needed in the story at all. They just want power suit stuff, and they wanted to put him in like the nostalgia power suit, the carrier guy, to fight all the Death Claws. Just nostalgia icons fighting nostalgia icons. They could have had like the whole Cold Fusion Jar storyline be with Lucy and Ghoul the entire time. Have that be part of like the Ghoul betraying Lucy scene. All the shit with the Brotherhood and Area 51 ended up being kind of just utterly pointless. Oh god, those super clever people from before the war that just knew that Area 51 would be covered with sand, like an exact amount of sand. So they decided to just hide turbine windblower things that was able to blow away all of the sand and reveal the base dramatically. But only if you stick a fusion core in this tiny spaceship thing that's somehow above that layer of sand and not buried itself. So clever, so dramatic, and cool looking. But it was only really used to do like the stupid aliens, freezers are cool joke.
Holy shit. A real fucking icebox. Huh.
And it wasn't even hard for them to get that key thingy that I don't know how that fucking thing worked because it was installed on a blimp and not in the rocket thing or, you know, the door. So how was it the key to it? But anyways, it wasn't hard to get to Area 51. So why weren't they in Area 51 to begin with? Yes, it wouldn't have been as dramatic if it was just their HQ that they had already established and were living at to begin with. But you know what? Also, why does Area 51 have a fucking cold fusion generator bank thingy? Isn't that a little convenient? The people in the past just knew it was going to be used by them at some point. It begs the question how long cold fusion was around, who all really knew, and how long from Cooper giving the vial to the president did the bombs drop? I mean, I get why House had one of the little power bank things for cold fusion. He spied and snooped through all his technology, and so he learned it was a thing, and he wanted it to power his machine so he could live forever. But why the fuck did Area 51 have one? Just because it's Area 51? So, you know, spooky place that holds all technology? If they need the cold fusion to make more cores for their weapons, yet they seem to have plenty of cores at the moment already, why weren't they just already at Area 51 using the deadliest arsenal around for any of their things while also looking for the cold fusion to make sure they end up with enough power in the long run? You know what? I don't know. The entire thing just felt pointless, and like they just wanted to have Maximus go through another, you know, the Brotherhood is bad story that ended with Steel on Steel war, and it was just an excuse to bring in the Liberty Prime shit from the games at the end. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to Lucy. Lucy was also reset to default after going through a story that culminated in her realizing it is sometimes okay to kill and having her Mercy kill her mother. In this season, she doesn't want to kill anybody and always tries to help out, only to learn over and over again that she was probably better off just ignoring the cries or killing to begin with. Like, she once again has to do a Mercy kill at the end of the season. She ends up with her dad again and falling for his bullshit again. only to get revealed about how evil him and his technology is again. And this time, instead of, oh, he dropped a bomb and his mother is a ghoul, it's the severed head of the boring congresswoman in a jar. That is the personality component that integrates in with all the mind control ships he's been making.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And she is very reluctant to kill this severed head that is begging for death, only eventually to do it to shut her up. She has already learned to end the suffering of her feral ghoul mother, but she can't do it to the miserable severed head begging her to do it and end her suffering, which she is coherent for. Yeah, it should have been shocking for her to see the head. Definitely. But it also should have helped her confirm that she was doing the right thing and just how bad her dad is. Not do this whole, damn, why can't people just stop wanting me to kill them thing. She's just so reluctant to do anything logical based on what she already knows in the world she's in, only for her to end up making stupid decisions and in the end, not killing her dad. So there are more plot lines that can still happen with characters and devices and shit with the next season. Because killing would just be too efficient and effective. And the writers don't want to, think of new stuff and characters to write about. They just want to keep adding complexity and bullshit. Yeah, Lucy isn't as naive as in season 1, but after everything that happened in season 1 and the reveal of her dad being a bad guy, to have her still just constantly being proven over and over again that the best thing to do is survive in the wasteland and to try to fix it is just annoying. She needs to just learn the lesson.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
And there's nothing wrong with being positive and trying to do the right thing, but even the show has to constantly prove her wrong, and so the writers don't even believe it. Even the games don't care if you're a good person for the story. Fallout New Vegas is all about revenge for getting shot in the face. You can have Lucy still try to do good and pick better sides like the NCR, but learn she needs to be capable of killing and surviving first to even be able to be alive to help anybody. But no, she needs to be the foil to the ghoul in perspective and allow him to think back to when he was naive about right and wrong. In my opinion, it would be more interesting to have them starting to change roles than have the ghoul be like, no, you need to keep that positive side in your life. Don't become like me, and using the symbolism of like his face becoming ghoulish kind of thing and the fighting the feralness. But no, she just keeps being retarded and not really punished for it, but also punished for it, but also a Mary Sue. It's just, but you know what? It's okay because she gets wacky dialogue and the actress is actually pretty good and she's cute in her outfit and she plays the games in between the seasons. Oh, yeah, buff out doesn't, heal you and make you high and okay with killing. It just, makes you able to carry more shit in the game. But hey, it's a reference, so, fuck it, enjoy your jangling keys. It does this now in the continuity of the show. Alright, so we got Maximus and Lucy. So now, it's time for, that's right, the character you've all been waiting for, Lucy's brother! Don't worry, I will get to everyone's favorite with the ghoul soon, and I do mean soon because there's not much to talk about here. Norm learns absolutely nothing new about the purpose of the vaults 31 through 33, but he's now on the surface. He was an absolute idiot too. He allowed himself to get on the brink of starvation and dehydration before realizing that, hey, Bud is just a retarded brain in a jar, and he can just kick the death needle away and put him in a trash can. Why the fuck did it take him that long? I don't know, it just did. But hey, he then unfreezes all of the 31 people who end up all being complete idiots as well. All the actual capable of deception and handling other vault people have already been unfrozen, I guess. So 31 was just left with morons who couldn't be managers of their own fucking assholes. But hey, isn't it silly how they say shit like how uncooked pasta has good mouthfeel?
I've come to prefer the pasta uncooked. I know it's out of necessity.
Absolutely. The mouthfeel is excellent.
It's a nice mouthfeel.
Also, none of them know anything about the vault, but like the one guy who eavesdropped while getting sandwiches. Like, how do not a single one of them know what the plan is and what's supposed to happen and be on the same page with everybody in case, I don't know, Bud ended up dead when they were woken up? The whole story leads absolutely nowhere, and so does the shit with Vaults 32 and 33. Old black manager lady just doesn't care about the plan she doesn't want to say anything about. She just wants to survive. And the Eye Patch Girl is super evil and deranged and Canadian. Oh, and everyone in the vault finds out really slowly and stupidly about her being Canadian because they're all just chicken shit. And we also learn that she is one of Hank's wives and initiates some sort of secret phase 2 of the plan at the end. But yeah, she's just full on evil and not even trying to hide it. So it's no wonder it was found out, and we get nothing but stupid vault dwellers are being stupid and incest jokes. The only base thing that happened is that all the vault people want to kill her after learning she's Canadian. But yeah, after 9 episodes and what felt like many hours of story, all of these plot points just kind of happened. There wasn't much character work at all. We don't know really anything more about anybody or how the minds work or how the vault shit. It's just wacky advancement at a snail's pace, and it's just ridiculous. Oh yeah, Macaulay Culkin's in this, and I really wanted to like him. He was a great child actor, and the guy came back from some really hard times. He ended up with Brenda Song happily with some kids. And the guy seems, pretty awesome, even if his takes on Die Hard not being a Christmas movie is pretty shit. So, when seeing he was in the cast and him going, I really just pick projects I like and care about kind of thing, I was kind of excited to see him. But he's really only like 2 episodes, and I'm sorry, but he did not bring it as an actor. He was really bad. He was flat-faced, monotone, just had no presence whatsoever. I mean, we'll see what they do with him in season 3, and overall, I have no real issue with like the Legion storyline stuff as a whole, with the exception of complaints about time and how many numbers they should have had after that civil war that seemed to have taken days with a guy that was just over there you could reach over and grab. So, yeah, you know what? No, I'm not really excited for it. Okay, let's finally get to the character everyone's raving about with this show, the Ghoul. Show creators have definitely heard all the praise for the Ghoul because, I feel like at this point, the show should just be renamed to The Ghoul instead of Fallout because he's the pinnacle character. He's not the first build, but he's the main person. And I know it's hard not to fall in love with the Ghoul's charisma and snappy dialogue and insults and drive to just hold back that feral side in order to find and learn about his family. Look at him. Look at those eyes. It's just love. But the Ghoul is not perfect and has some of the same shit from the last season too. For example, he really only needs his meds to stop becoming feral when it's most dramatically impactful. Whenever it isn't needed to be showing happening, he just doesn't really have that problem. He will take what seems like days before taking the medicine. He's about to become feral. They jab uranium in his wound, and then you just never see him taking meds again. And what he was about to become full feral within seconds is now just perfectly fine. And they also, in the first season, showed him as a badass that can single-handedly fight a whole crowd of people in a town, go toe-to-toe with power armor, just take the hits, and even take down like that whole legion of fucking power armor suddenly out of nowhere because I guess in the last episode he learned about he knew about fucking shooting them in the right spot, but didn't know it with Maximus and whatever. I don't need to drag that shit back up again. But in this season, he wants to avoid a pack of 5 ghouls and go around them. He comes up with plans that require him to be hung and have Lucy, a girl he definitely wouldn't trust, shoot him down. All for story purposes that don't really lead to much of a payoff. Definitely not satisfying ones. I mean, you could have still had the payoffs for the shoot in the ass and not the head kind of thing without, like, downgrading the ghoul's abilities. His being scared of Deathclaws was pretty justified, and I have nothing wrong with that. But, like, the King's ghoul and shit, that was stupid. Season 1 ghoul would have had no problem just taking them down and walking into the town. And then the story of the ghoul before the bombs fell is starting to get overly complicated. They're making Cooper Howard almost singularly the most important man in the world to have set off the chain of events that leads to the bombs dropping. While it can make for an interesting story, the more complex it gets, the more unbelievable that the ghoul is doing anything that he's doing, or that Howard was at a fucking birthday party doing lasso tricks with his daughter when the bombs fell. In the season, we see Cooper get arrested, and he is like the most famous person in the entirety of the country besides like the president. So wouldn't that be like pretty big news to be shared around to a lot of people? And so now, in the other seasons, they have to at some point explain how he was freed from jail after being framed for being a communist and be allowed near children again at the beginning of the season 1. And all his stuff with his wife is undone, saying she isn't really a bad person. She was just threatened by the company. The real thing we learn about this whole thing is that I knew what Cold Fusion was this entire time, and he learned about his wife and his kid and how they're probably alive in Colorado, and somehow the wife knew Cooper would be alive somewhere and come find her, so leave a business card she had on her before freezing. Hey, the performance is still great, but the show that performance is in, for me, is just kind of rough to watch. Like Lucy, this show has no balls. I don't mean that in a feminine way. I mean they are too scared to kill anybody or have any real consequences for anybody, both good and evil. No bad guys get thwarted in case they need them later, and all the good characters have so much plot armor, it makes power suits look like they're made out of paper mache. So much doesn't get resolved because they want to milk something as long as possible for future seasons. It's like multiple tiny mystery boxes that they just want to keep adding on to and never fully opening. Like, why did Hank need cold fusion when his remote neck things didn't seem to need it, and that seemed like his big plan this entire time? Why is the real reason he built those neck control thingies? How is he an expert at engineering of brain control technology when House couldn't figure it out, and Hank was only ever shown to be a bubbling idiot lackey in shit DHCGI before the bombs dropped? Maybe because the writers don't actually have an answer, so they just gave him amnesia that can probably be removed at any time to be able to, drag it all out and deal with later. Better to not answer everything and kill him. Nope, we want the actor to stick around and still have him as a baddie and plot explainer man. Also, what was even with the brain control shit to begin with? Just like everything else in the show, the mechanics shown had no consistency. We need them to not explode people's heads at max power, because when it isn't at 10, they can still fight back a little bit. Well, except when we want to order someone to carry an atomic bomb to Shady Sands. No, he'll just kind of NPC mubble and bleed from some orifices, and it just does that perfectly. He only collapses from exhaustion and brain rot exactly where he needs to be in town. And, he's probably not morally okay with it deep down, what little bit of consciousness he still has left, because, hey, that receiver's not on 10 because he still has a head. So but he still couldn't fight back. So yeah, you know what? I think the technology worked pretty well before Hank got to Vegas. I guess before that, it was already hooked up to the Congresswoman Sever head, but then wasn't really hooked up until he improved them, and then everyone were all dull and happy and got along. But then Lucy destroys that head, and they're still just fine, normal people, but with amnesia. Because Hank didn't have a dramatic change in character or become, like the human robot like they were designed to do before Congress head integration. Only Legion Man was like mad and stuff. But we also don't know how that shit really works, and if Hank could just order them to turn into evil killers or whenever. The point is, it isn't explained at all, and what it is and why he's doing it. It might seem like I have just been nitpicking this entire time, but think about that. When the only thing that I can really say about anything really positive of that, the show looks good, except for some CGI parts. It is relatively decent game mechanics, adaptation kind of stuff. If not always working the story, it still fits the games pretty well, and Walton Goggins' back must hurt from just carrying it. All I can do while I watch is poke holes because none of the characters really grab me or the story really compels me. Then you have a problem, because the holes can be poked easily. Like, how the fuck did they keep those death claws in the wall around Lucky 36 with, like, just a little chain link fence door? The death claws shredded cars, snapped telephone poles with tails without noticing, and launched power armor, like, yards away. But is it because it's just, like, a physical thing in front of them, and they're just too stupid to push it open? Oh, wait, no, they're not. Because they showed one ripping off a door in the episode where they are introduced. I figured it out that time, but the shitty little nothing gate that a normal person with a crowbar can break and open, nope, can't do that. It's just too well built for a fucking death claw. It is just all retarded. That's the more you think about anything. Why is there a soda factory that still has thousands of soda bottles still filled? That should have been ransacked years ago. Well, just because, child labor jokes are funny. We needed that. It's just such shit. And no amount of sniper shot, key jangling cameos from Carrier 6 will ever change that. And what also won't change is that even though it's been advertised as like the #1 show on Amazon streaming, and that there's definitely going to be a third season that's going to happen, no one is talking about season 2. Why is that? Also, this was the New Vegas season, arguably the most beloved game in the franchise, and I don't see anyone praising its homage to the game or complaining about lore breaks of the game. You just see, like, the only shit that I still see is the I want to fuck Lucy and Walton Goggins deserves an award like stuff. And I guess people did like the Carrier 6 cameo. But there's no real memes coming out. No one is really discussing, like, what's next, about how the ghoul might be the one that dropped the bombs or anything like that. There's no theory crafting. There's no tying with the games. People were just disappointed that Shadow Drop wasn't a remaster of New Vegas, that it was just some shitty behind-the-scenes stuff. And maybe they're not talking about all that because there isn't really anything to talk about. It was the same shit as before. And you know what? When a second season gets ignored this hard while still advertising to beat such a great success, then it's most likely gonna be over another season or two as people start to realize it was always pretty bad. And the corporate saying all the talks out there doesn't always mean all the talks out there. Okay, that's probably it. You know what? Feel free to roast me in the comments. I know I get passionately angry about this show, and people apparently love it. So, you know what? That's perfectly fine. Have your opinions and express them all you want. That's what I'm going to do, and I hope you can respect that and maybe even hit the subscribe button.
See, not so bad once you're up.
Eating a meal, a succulent Chinese meal,